and the person is somebody with good akhlaq and good manners and characters and good deen, it is obligatory for you to allow them to marry. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the yatim here, the orphan, but just as an example. But for all individuals that are in charge of anybody, you have to do that which is ahsan. That which is ahsan. That which will improve the condition of the person that you've been entrusted with to look after. That will improve the condition of the individual or the person that you've been entrusted to look after. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned hatta yablughu ashudda. As regards to the yatim, to the orphan, that you should not go close to his wealth until he reaches ashudda. And ashudda here means what? Rushd. It means puberty. It means puberty. Not only that, rushd. Where he's able to make decisions and correct decisions. Where he's able to make correct decisions. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions after that, may Allah preserve you all, وَأَوْفُوا كَيْلْ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. And that's the sixth advice or admonition. And when you're measuring or weighing, make sure you're just. Make sure you're just. Again, dealing with the rights of the people. So the ulama have explained here that if an individual is doing a transaction, in that transaction you take and you give. You take and you give. So the individual who takes, this verse applies to you, and the individual who gives, this verse applies to you. The ulama of tafsir have said that this verse is in relation to giving and taking. So if you have done a business transaction with an individual and he gives you more than he's supposed to, it's obligatory for you to give him that which is his right. And if you are doing a transaction with an individual and you have given him less than what he's supposed to receive, it is obligatory for you to give him that which he owns, and that is his. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions after that, لا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها. Then Allah mentions after that, we do not burden a soul except with that he can bear. Basically, if by any chance, when you're doing this transaction, through miscalculations, you didn't know, and you gave him less than what he deserved, Allah forgives you. Because it's something that was beyond your control. And this again shows the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preserving the rights of individuals in business transactions. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving the mishaps or the hafawat or the mistakes that one might make. That's the sixth advice. The seventh advice is a statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَاعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى. وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَاعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى. And if you are to speak, then be just in what you say, even if it's regards to your closest relative. If you're going to speak, then be just, even if it is to your closest relative. And this is an amazing advice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the Quran has urged us and encouraged us to speak the truth. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu ma'a sadiqin. O you who believe, be from the truthful ones. Speak the truth. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. O you who believe, fear Allah and say a word that is true. And say a word that is true. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned in this verse, he asked a question. He said, if your father, who's from Dhal Qurba, Or if your brother, he says something that's incorrect, or does something that's incorrect, do you say it's okay? Huh? No. Because of this verse. If there's somebody that you used to follow, if there's an individual that you used to listen to, you used to get knowledge from this individual, and then it comes apparent that this individual is on some falsehood, he's on some innovation, do you say, no, it's okay? Or do you speak with justice? You speak with justice. Which is why Uwais, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, نحن ندير حيث دارت السنة. We go where the sunnah goes. So if we're with individuals who are upon the sunnah at one time, and they leave the sunnah, do we go with them? Huh? No, we go where the sunnah goes. Because we are together in this da'wah salafiyah because of the deen, because of the sunnah, because of the fahm of the salaf. Because we are agreeing in this. So when somebody goes away from this and we follow them, we're not being just. فَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَاعْدِلُوا. And if you say, then be just. Allah mentions if you say or you speak, then be just. But it also, Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala mentions, is also if you do actions, make sure your actions reflect justice. So if an individual leaves the sunnah, does shirk, calls to innovations, do we follow them, ikhwan? No. Fa'dilu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be just. Because on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَأَخِلَّاءُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ. Al-akhilla, close friends, يَوْمَئِذٍ, that day, will be enemies. Close friends in this dunya. People who are what? Tight in this dunya. On the day of judgment, there will be enemies. إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ. Except for the pious ones. Except for those who love for the sake of Allah. Except for those who took companions for the sake of Allah. Not because of the sake of color. Not because of the sake of qabila. Not because he's from the east and I'm from the east.